So grateful you guys are here tonight. Thank you for joining. I just want to take a moment to thank our viewers and encourage you to please subscribe to this channel. It's only through your subscription that we can get promoted. So thank you so much for joining us. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a subject that is really big in our nation right now. And it's especially important for us to consider this subject because we have influence in our lives, and everything that we do is a ripple effect toward other people. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a judgmental, critical, and suspicious mind. So I'm just going to throw out the big question: how many people might be struggling with a judgmental, critical, or suspicious mind? Okay, I'm going to say straight up, me. I struggle with this all the time. I don't look at a social media feed without going through all of those emotions in rapid succession: judgment, criticism, and suspicion. And the sad thing is, it seems like we're just in this rabbit hole of this as a nation. I'm speaking about the United States in particular, although the problem is worldwide. We have a visitor tonight from Albania who is with us, and I'm sure it's even an issue there. But we're going to be talking tonight about this issue of judgment in particular, because a judgmental attitude spurs the issue of criticism and suspicion. The Bible says in Matthew 7:1, "Judge not, that you not be judged." And that's God's opinion on it, straight up, judge not. And I have to catch myself all the time because of the culture that we live in. We feel entitled and even encouraged to share feedback like a continuous loop. And I'm not sure how healthy that is. I'm just going to throw out the idea of a filter, that each one of us needs a filter. And we need a filter, especially as it relates to how we interface with other people. And let me tell you what I've observed as someone who counsels with a lot of job seekers, is that if you have an issue with a critical, judgmental, or suspicious mind, especially as it relates to the job seeking process, often it's a result of trauma, and trauma that has not been dealt with well. Going to throw that out there. Okay. So stop for a moment and think about the friends you have that might be really struggling with a judgmental, critical, or suspicious mind. Ask God right now to show you the faces of 2 or 3 people that you can think of real quick have an issue with this issue. They judge all the time. Now, think about how you can pray for them, because probably right behind that issue of judgment is the issue of trauma. And I will tell you, in job seekers, often they put up a face, what I call the happy pants face, which is the, hey, it's time for an interview. I'm going to be all happy, right? Because I need to be for the interview to go well. But the truth of the matter, if you get right behind the happy face, the church face, is they're miserable and they're angry, and they are often dealing with trauma that is unprocessed, or what I call emotional junk in the trunk. So while we're talking at face value about something that has tremendous impact on us personally, this issue can be a huge issue impacting your job search if you don't have a safe outlet to work through toxic emotions. So I'm just going to toss that one out there. So in talking about a judgmental, critical, and suspicious mind, you need to understand what the word judgment means and what the definition is. So straight up, it is defined as, in Vine's dictionary, and this is according to this great book, Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer, it's defined as a decision passed on the faults of others. Let me say that one more time. Judgment is a decision passed on the faults of others. And it's cross-referenced to the word condemnation. According to the same source, one of the Greek words to judge is partially defined as to form an opinion, and cross-referenced to the word sentence. Ooh. God is the only one who has the right to condemn or sentence. Therefore, when we pass judgment on another, We are, in a certain sense, setting ourselves up as God. That is not good, folks. That is not good. Criticism, opinions, and judgment all seem to be relatives. So we're going to discuss them together as one giant problem. So let's cut to this point, which is on page 125. Pride is an I problem. I warn everyone among you not to estimate and think of himself more highly than he ought, not to have an exaggerated opinion of your own importance, but to rate his ability with sober judgment, each according to the degree of faith apportioned by him to God. Romans 12:3. Judgment and criticism are the fruit of a deeper problem, pride. When the I in us gets bigger than it should be, it will always cause the kinds of problems we are discussing. The Bible repeatedly warns us about being high-minded. Whenever we excel in an area, it's only because God has given us a grace for it. If we are high-minded or have an exaggerated opinion of ourselves, it causes us to look down on others and value them less than we are. This type of attitude or thinking is extremely detestable to the Lord, and it opens many doors for the enemy in our lives. So one thing I want to draw to your attention here is this thing that she just said. Number one, it's detestable to God. All right. In our culture, we turn on TV and we see things that are so profane and so completely out of whack on a regular basis that we often forget that what we are seeing is detestable to a holy God. Okay, so that's shot of reality number one. Shot of reality number two is that when you are acting haughty, when you are witnessing strife and offense and open condemnation and criticism amongst people, and I'm talking about just the simplest things on TV, and you know what I'm talking about without getting into it, it opens the door for the enemy in our lives. So how many of you want to please God? If you want to please God, you're going to be sensitive to things he finds detestable. That's a big word. It's a huge word. God finds it detestable, and it opens doors for the enemy. I believe many of you are experiencing things in your lives that are a byproduct of things that you were exposed to or a part of, that because it got sown into your life, you now reap it. And what I mean by that is that it becomes that strife and offense, judgment and criticism, all of those things are grouped together, that when they get sown into the soil of your heart on a regular basis, they yield the fruit of judgment, criticism, division, bitterness, anger. How many of you are struggling in relationships with your family where this is a root cause? I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. It is in mine. So here's the big ideas in this chapter. Number one, holy fear. This is a really important concept, and this is Galatians 6, 1-3. Brethren, if any person is overtaken in misconduct or sin of any sort, you who are spiritual, who are responsive to and controlled by the Spirit, should set him right and restore and reinstate him without any sense of superiority and with all gentleness, keeping an attentive eye on yourself, lest you be tempted too. Wow, that's a big, strong set of commandment words to how we are to deal lovingly with each other. Stop and think about the bickering in Facebook feeds amongst friends. How often we get sucked into mindless, endless chatter that just goes back and forth. Judgment, criticism, strife and offense. I'm right, but my motive for being right is completely wrong. I'm just going to say that's my problem. I oftentimes I really care about who's right. And I will go fact after fact after fact, round after round after round, when the truth of the matter is, disengage, Maverick. You need to just stop, right? You need to stop arguing with people who are not hearing. You need to start praying. You need to start loving people who are different than you proactively, and do it by empathizing with them. Can you imagine if we did that? Yeah, Tom.
I remember reading a statement by a very intelligent man that said, when you try to change someone's mind with logic and they're driven by emotion, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's exactly true. Exactly true. The Bible tells us further in Galatians, bear, endure, carry one another's burdens and troublesome moral faults, and in this way fulfill and observe perfectly the law of Christ, the Messiah, and complete what is lacking in your obedience to it. For if any person thinks himself to be somebody too important to condescend or shoulder another's load, when he is nobody of superiority except in his own estimation, he deceives and deludes and cheats himself. Wow. Careful examination of these scriptures quickly reveals to us how we are to respond to the weakness we observe in others. It sets forth a mental attitude we are to maintain within ourselves. We must have a holy fear of pride and be very careful of judging others or being critical of them. Can you see why I've got a problem with a month of celebrating pride? I'm not talking about homosexual anything. I just want to say just the word pride. The Bible has a ton to say about this word. It's one of the 7 deadly sins, and it's considered actually one of the most deadly sins. I have a hard time.
It's what got Satan kicked out of heaven.
Exactly.
It's what got Satan kicked out of heaven.
Exactly. We as a country and as a group of leaders in a country, and I'm thinking Zekruda of you in leadership training, we don't talk about the sinister, deceptive, ugly side effects of pride nearly enough. We're in trouble as a country because of pride. Think about the things you celebrate: looks, likes, selfies, how selfish this generation is. Think about it. It's very dangerous. We are in a very dangerous place with our children. I sat down with both my children and I said, I don't want to see either one of you taking any more pictures of yourself in the next 24 hours. I want 24 hours of no photos. Can you guys even do that? The generation coming up really is so self-absorbed, they have a hard time. We have to be people who are humble people. It's so unusual when you come across a humble person anymore. It's almost shocking. Does anybody feel that way when you come across somebody who's humble, truly humble? How can you be more humble? Yeah, Carl.
They're often misjudged too.
Yeah, that humility is strength under control.
Right. And they're often misjudged as being weak.
That's right.
Or a target.
Right.
I'm not bragging here. I do run into that though myself.
Yeah.
And I think probably all of us do.
Well, I love this question. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're being a Christian and you keep your mouth shut, and when you don't need to be, like you were just talking about, when you don't need to be starting things. And a lot of times people take that as a sign of weakness.
Yes. And this author goes on to say, who are we to pass judgment anyway? Romans 14:4 says, who are you to pass judgment on and censor another household servant? It is before his own master that he stands or falls, and he himself shall stand and be upheld, for the master, the Lord, is mighty to support him and make him take a stand. Who are we to judge other people? When was the last time we said to ourselves, it's none of my business? Woo-hoo, that's a hot one. A little hot potato there. It's none of my business. I don't need to tell everybody what I think. And oftentimes, probing questions or opinions are not necessarily welcome. So asking yourself, is this any of my business anyway? What is my real point in engagement? I just encourage you to be thinking about yourself and how people perceive you. In Matthew 7:1-2, and I am moving us through this chapter quickly, but I'm trying to highlight the big ideas here. There is a sowing and a reaping of judgment. This is really, really, to me, so sobering. It's almost terrifying. Matthew 7, 1 through 2 says, "Do not judge and criticize and condemn others, so that you may not be judged, criticized, and condemned yourself. For just as you judge and criticize and condemn others, you will be judged, criticized, and condemned. And in accordance with the measure that you use to deal it out to others, it's going to be dealt out again to you." Whoa. Yeah. Can you imagine? I don't want to be right in that one. Like, not at all. These scriptures plainly tell us that if we will reap what we sow, sowing and reaping does not only apply to the agricultural and financial realms, it also applies to the mental realm. We can sow and reap an attitude as well as a crop or an investment. One pastor I know says often when he hears that someone has been talking about him in an unkind or a judgmental way, he asks himself, are they sowing or am I reaping? Many times we're reaping in our lives what we have previously sown into the life of another. You guys, how do you feel about that? How do you feel when you're judged? How do you feel when you feel people are drawing unfair conclusions? How do you feel when you're rejected by a potential employer and you feel judged or criticized? I just want you to be very careful about the mindset of judgment and criticism. In your own life, do an audit and look at what percentage of time do you put toward judging, criticizing, or engaging with anyone that might result in strife or offense. I just ask that question because if we do an honest audit of our time, we might discover we spend a lot of time putting ourselves unnecessarily at risk of offending others, judging others, criticizing others. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting too old for the repercussions of such. I don't want to reap it in my own life. Yeah, John Sierra?
I was just gonna add like this, I mean, every week the conversation hits home, but this one especially does because for me, I struggle a lot with like learning how to meet people where they are and not having the expectation that people have to meet me where I am. And like learning to have like empathy and obviously forgive. And the other thing I was gonna add, which is almost slipping my mind, something what you just said triggered me. Crap.
Sowing and reaping thing, it's the desire
Oh,
to avoid. Yeah.
got it. I was gonna say, like for me, like the hardest thing is like I'm finding that I can forgive others way easier than I can forgive myself. And that's, I don't know why that is. It's something that I'm still working through, but like it's difficult. Like it's really difficult.
It is. And you guys, the more you become aware of how your psychology works, you guys, what is your buttons? Let me ask you this. When you get mad and drawn into judgment and criticism, what are your buttons? What's the easy toggle for you? Have you ever identified the easy toggles that set you off?
Feeling rejected.
Yeah. Politics. I can tell you certain politics just like get under my skin really fast. And I'll tell you something that really bothers me is seeing Christians with profanity in their feed, people who are Christian leaders with profanity in their feed, seeing things that are just not kind. And yet there's this call of Christianity. And I'm like, these two are water and oil. They don't mix. When the world sees angry, hot-headed, judgmental, critical Christians, what do you think happens? Yeah, Angela, what do you think happens?
They say, I want no part of that.
We're the biggest hypocrites ever. You guys,
Bad
how are we
witness.
going to win people for Christ when if somebody wears a hat or a t-shirt I don't like, I'm offended, I'm mad, and I'm taken to social media to talk about it? How am I going to love that person? Who's going to show them love? Who is going to be responsible to reach across lines and love people unconditionally and just listen to people and just hear them? I just encourage you to ask God if this has been an area where you're like, man, it's all good. I'm good. If this isn't starting to get under there a little bit and start going, oh, not so good, then you might be callous to how much of this is going on around you. Because like if you tune on regular TV and see the amount of strife and offense, anger, judgment going back and forth between what you consider normal people, it's shocking. It's become so normal in our society to be like that. This idea of God finding it detestable, that's drawing a whole new level of circle around what's got to go in my life, of even any recreational viewing of stuff that just makes me laugh. You guys, but where are you? Where is this starting to get tender? The devil keeps us, and I'm reading on page 121, the devil keeps us busy, mentally judging the faults of others. That way we never see or deal with what is wrong with us. We can't change others, only God can. We can't change ourselves either, but we can cooperate with the Holy Spirit and let him do the work. The most powerful prayer you can pray is, I can't change God, but you can change me. I wait for you. Step one to any freedom is to face the truth the Lord is trying to show you. When we have our thoughts and conversation on what is wrong with everybody else, we are usually being deceived about our own conduct. Therefore, Jesus commanded that we not concern ourselves with what's wrong with others when we have so much wrong with ourselves. And he's talking about Matthew 7:3-5, where it says, you know, you want to take out the small particle that's in your brother's eye, but you need to be aware of the beam of timber in your own. How can you say to your brother, let me get that little particle out of your eye when there's a beam of timber in your own eye? You hypocrite. First get the beam of timber out of your own eye, then you're going to see clearly to take the tiny particle out of your brother's eye. God is really clear on this. Next week, we're going to be talking about just the end of this chapter on strife and offense, which really focuses on how do we love one another? How do we guard our heart? How do we avoid condemnation, which is associated with judging? And how do we become very sensitive to the issue of suspicion? Because if you think about any form of media today, we're almost taught to be suspicious. We're going to talk about that, how that undermines our ability to form genuine relationships based on vulnerability with others. All right, I'm going to get us out of here on time. I am so grateful for the chance to see each one of you. Thank you for being here tonight. I invite you to come join us. If you're on this channel and you're thinking, what are these crazy people doing? What we're doing is real-time relationship in church. We're praying for each other. We love each other. And we want to be practical solutions to big world problems, which is why we're trying to reach out to people overseas, like our friends from Albania, and offer emotional support, encouragement, and connections where we can. So join us on Facebook, join me on LinkedIn, join us on LinkedIn, join us, period. We welcome you, and please subscribe to this channel. You guys have a wonderful and blessed evening. God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless.
Good night.
Good night.